In 1963, Rob Stanton, an aerospace engineer, and his wife, Beth Stanton, a housewife, move into a Pasadena mansion following the death of their young daughter. They also meet their Italian neighbors, Leo and Sheila Mosconi. Beth invites them over for coffee, appearing to be a dutiful wife. Leo thinks Rob's face looks familiar, while Sheila notices that Rob treats his wife like a maid, tapping on his cup for Beth to pour more coffee instead of asking her directly. Soon after, Beth encounters Sheila again at the supermarket. But the interaction does not go well this time. Beth overhears Sheila revealing to another woman that Leo witnessed Rob kissing a waitress. Beth, in denial, rushes out of the supermarket, feeling guilty. Sheila visits Beth to talk, but Beth refuses to believe her husband's infidelity. That night, Rob calls Beth to inform her that he won't be home for dinner because of work. Beth acts like it's no problem but secretly goes to the diner near Rob's workplace, where she sees him kiss the waitress firsthand. The next day, she admits her husband's infidelity to Sheila. Sheila advises her to confront the waitress, and she does. The girl's name is April, and she turns out to be a sweetheart. Beth breaks down in front of her and, instead of being hostile, befriends April. Though she introduces herself as Sheila, April admits to Beth that she's in a relationship with a married man, still unaware that he is Beth's husband. After hearing from April that the affair is the result of Rob becoming bored with his wife, Beth tries to make herself more appealing by dressing up. However, when Rob comes home, he barely notices her efforts and doesn't even look at her properly. Desperate, Beth even strips naked while continuing to eat at the table with Rob. However, things become awkward when his boss arrives at the front door and sees her. Sheila helps Beth and advises her to try spicing things up in the bedroom. However, her attempt ends in disaster when she accidentally injures Rob in the bathroom. While waiting to be treated at the hospital, Rob acknowledges that he has been growing distant from Beth and feels guilty. Their conversation is interrupted when the doctor asks to speak with him privately. After receiving treatment for his injury, Rob leaves the mansion for a dinner with business partners despite Beth attempts to make him stay, knowing all too well that he is actually meeting April. Beth visits April and gives her her number. Later, she tells Sheila she plans to befriend April to stop her from seeing Rob. When Beth discovers that Rob plans to meet April at a nightclub to celebrate finishing a project, she goes to his office and takes the project files. This forces Rob to stay behind and redo his work, causing him to cancel his plans with April. With Rob unavailable, April invites Beth to join her instead. During their night out, April confides in Beth that she isn't looking for a serious relationship with Rob and has no interest in marriage, as she is focused on her dream of becoming a singer. Beth increasingly enjoys her friendship with April. They spend time roller skating before going to April's home. April shows Beth some marijuana-laced brownies, and although Beth hesitates at first, she gives in when April mentions that Rob uses them too. She explains that Rob has been using marijuana to add excitement to his life. After a while, Beth suddenly remembers she was supposed to attend a dinner party at Rob's boss's house and now has to go while still high. She rushes back and barely makes it in time. Under the influence, Beth acts a little off but unexpectedly charms the hosts and guests. Rob, feeling nervous that she might cause a scene, warns her, but Beth responds by saying, "I know what you've been doing." Assuming she is talking about the marijuana, Rob asks how she found out, unaware that she is actually referring to his affair. When Beth remains silent, Rob starts reflecting on how he has lost his sense of enjoyment in life. Later, they go roller skating in their neighborhood, and Rob begins to reconnect with Beth. April auditions to sing at a local bar and lands the gig, which genuinely makes Beth happy. April invites Beth and Rob to watch her perform, but Beth panics and makes an excuse that she can't attend. Though she wishes April the best and expects Rob to be there, to her surprise, Rob surprises Beth with 2 tickets to the World Series and declines April's invitation. Sheila tells Beth she should be happy that Rob chose her, but Beth feels differently. That night, Beth pretends to be sick but secretly goes to the bar to support April's performance. Afterward, they go back to April's apartment. Just as Beth is about to leave, she sees Rob arrive and quickly hides in the bathroom. April confesses to Rob that she is in love with him, but he angrily yells that he will never leave his wife before storming out. Beth emerges from the bathroom to comfort April, who sadly says Rob's wife is a lucky woman, something Beth strongly disagrees with. April wonders why a man would cheat on his wife but still choose to stay with her. Beth suggests it's likely because the wife did something that hurt him deeply. The next morning, Rob tells Beth that once he finishes his work project, he will spend more time at home with her. Beth appreciates this and suggests they throw a housewarming party to celebrate finally unpacking. She goes around the neighborhood inviting all the neighbors, including Mary and Ralph Lasson. As Beth approaches, Ralph is aggressively yelling at Mary but quickly stops when he notices her presence. Beth later tells April about the Vlassons and strongly suspects that Ralph is abusing Mary. April opens up about her childhood, revealing that she witnessed her mother being abused while their relatives turned a blind eye. On the day of the party, when the Vlassons arrive, Beth notices a large bruise on Mary's wrist, confirming her suspicions about Ralph's abuse. Later, as Mary and Rob dance, a jealous Ralph pulls Mary into the study and starts yelling at her. Rob attempts to intervene, but Ralph hints that he knows about Rob's infidelity, making Rob hesitate, seeing her husband back off. Beth steps in herself. Ralph storms out angrily, forcing Mary to follow him. This leads to an argument between Beth and Rob, with Beth furious at him for doing nothing to stop Ralph. In response, Rob cruelly yells that Ralph may not be a perfect husband, but Beth wasn't a good mother either, and that outsiders have no right to interfere in a marriage. Devastated, Beth later discovers that Sheila overheard their fight. She finally admits that she was the reason their daughter died. The next day, Beth visits April, who seems irritable. After kicking out her nosy neighbor, April reveals that Rob dumped her. Back home, Beth celebrates with Sheila but insists she still wants to be friends with April. Suddenly, April shows up at Beth's house. Panicking, Beth hides and asks Sheila to pretend to be her. Sheila reluctantly agrees and answers the door. April asks to see Rob, claiming he left his coat at the diner, but Sheila manages to send her away. Later, Beth visits April and urges her to move on, only to discover April is pregnant with Rob's child. Sheila advises Beth to confront Rob and force him to choose. At dinner, Beth struggles to hold back tears, ready to reveal the truth. But when Rob asks if she's sick, she gets an idea. She lies and tells him she has cancer. Beth is convinced that Rob would choose her if he knew she was sick. The next day, she confesses her lie to Sheila, who panics at Beth's continued deception. Despite her frustration, Sheila still takes Beth to visit her nephew, Enzo, an oncologist, to help her choose a fake illness. They settle on epithelioid hemangioendothelioma, and Beth later tells Rob she has 6 months to live. Devastated, Rob breaks down in tears and swears to stay by her side until the end. Beth urges April to leave town and start fresh, but April resists the idea and instead tricks Beth into driving her to an illegal abortion clinic. Fearing for April's safety, Beth opens up about her late daughter, Emily, and admits April reminds her of her. April gets emotional but insists she's too poor to raise the baby alone. Beth assures her she will find a way to support her financially and help raise the child. Moved by Beth's offer, April decides against the abortion. Later, Beth shares her plan with Sheila, believing raising April's baby would make everyone happy. Horrified, Sheila scolds Beth and cuts ties with her. Meanwhile, April storms into Rob's office and reveals her pregnancy. To her shock, Rob proposes, promising his marriage will be over in 6 months. When April tells Beth the news, Beth faints in the middle of the street. Beth drives April to her doctor's appointment and subtly tries to plant doubts about Rob in her mind. At the clinic, Beth spots Mary, who is visibly injured. Concerned, she later visits Mary's house and learns that Ralph beat her for supposedly trying to seduce another man. When Beth asks why she stays, Mary turns the question back on her, pointing out that she knows Rob has been unfaithful. Mary then reveals that Ralph owns a gun and has threatened to kill her if she leaves. A flashback shows Beth and Rob when their daughter Emily was still alive. One day, while playing in the backyard, Emily ran out into the street and was hit by a car. Rob blamed Beth for leaving the gate open, leading to the accident. In the present, April tells Rob that she wants to continue her singing career after giving birth, but he is unsupportive. He casually mentions that Beth once dreamed of becoming a concert pianist but gave it up to be a stay-at-home wife. This surprises April, as her friend Sheila also had the same dream. After speaking with Mary, Beth decides to leave Rob and goes to his office to say goodbye. However, he isn't there. His secretary, Claire, reveals that Rob has been cheating on Beth for years, with multiple women, including Claire herself. Claire then confesses that she was responsible for Emily's death. She had secretly visited Rob at their home. But when Beth and Emily returned early, she fled through the backyard and left the gate open, allowing Emily to wander into the street. Rob knew the truth but hid it, using Emily's death to manipulate Beth with guilt. Realizing everything, Beth changes her mind about leaving Rob and forgives Claire on the condition that their conversation remains a secret. On her way home, she buys a gun. Bethan tells Rob she bought a gun and will keep it loaded in the kitchen due to recent break-ins. Secretly, she teams up with Mary to make their husbands turn on each other. Mary hides her belongings and leaves a note for Ralph, claiming she is having an affair with Rob and is leaving him. Meanwhile, April unexpectedly arrives at Bethan's house, having learned the truth about her identity from the real Sheila. Bethan gets Rob drunk and presses him about Emily's death, but he denies any responsibility, pushing her to move forward with the plan. At home, Ralph finds Mary's note and, furious, grabs his gun. Bethan expects him to arrive soon, but instead, April shows up to confront her about her lies. As Rob is still reeling from the revelation that his wife befriended his mistress, Ralph bursts in with a gun and confronts Rob. A fight breaks out between the two men. In the chaos, Bethan secretly removes the bullets from her gun before tossing it to Rob, ensuring that Ralph is the one to shoot and kill him. A decade later, Beth hands over the house keys to the new owner, Simone, as she prepares to move to New York. She reveals that Ralph was executed for Rob's murder and that April has become a singer. Beth has helped raise April's daughter, Elsie, whom she considers her own. The three of them move to New York together so April can pursue a career on Broadway. Wealthy socialite Simone lives in a grand mansion with her third husband, Carl, a successful art gallery owner. She believes she has the perfect life, wealth, status, and a devoted husband until one fateful night at a party when she discovers the truth. Simone receives an anonymous envelope containing photos of Carl passionately kissing another man, shattering her illusion of a perfect marriage. Furious, she confronts Carl and demands he leave immediately. However, instead of leaving, Carl attempts suicide by overdosing on pills. Despite her anger, Simone calls an ambulance. When concerned neighbors gather outside, she quickly covers up the situation, claiming Carl simply fell down the stairs. It is then that she realizes her jealous neighbor, Wanda, was the one who sent the incriminating photos. Enraged, Simone lunges at Wanda but is held back by the paramedics. After Carl is taken to the hospital, Tommy Hart, the teenage son of Simone's best friend, Naomi, arrives to console her. He admits he saw the photos and, in a moment of passion, tries to kiss her. Though flattered, Simone gently turns him down, reminding him that he is still underage. As he leaves, Tommy confesses that he has been in love with her for years and assures her that he will be 18 in just 2 days. Simone visits Carl in the hospital and makes it clear that she still wants a divorce, but he can stay in the house until their daughter's wedding in July. Later, she brings Carl home and helps him recover, only to discover hidden pills under a chair, realizing he faked his suicide attempt. Furious, she tries to throw him out again, but Carl blackmails her, threatening to expose his homosexuality to her social circle. Knowing how much Simone values her reputation, she reluctantly agrees to let him stay. To Simone's surprise, her friend Naomi Hart confesses that she has known about Carl's infidelity for over a year, though she is unaware of his true orientation. Feeling betrayed by both Carl and Naomi, Simone begins an affair with Tommy, now a legal adult. At first, she hesitates when he takes her to a makeshift van, but after they kiss, passion takes over, and things quickly heat up. Simone tells Tommy that Carl won't be leaving anytime soon. Distracted, she heads home, where Naomi reminds her about a charity event she's supposed to attend with Carl. At the event, Simone maintains her usual charm, effortlessly keeping up appearances until she spots Tommy working as a waiter, dressed in a flamenco costume. Carl mocks Tommy's outfit, while another woman compliments how handsome he looks. Naomi, however, remarks on how embarrassing it is for a 32-year-old woman to flirt with a much younger man, making Simone visibly uncomfortable. The conversation shifts to marriage, and Carl exaggerates their affection, gripping Simone's hand too tightly, making her uneasy. Noticing this, Tommy accidentally spills a plate of food onto Carl's lap, cutting off his speech. Afterward, Simone finds Tommy in the kitchen, where he has just been fired. Tommy insists he did the right thing by standing up for her against Carl's disrespect. Simone, however, tells him it's complicated. She doesn't hate Carl, and despite everything, he's not a bad husband. Still, she agrees to keep seeing Tommy, but only in secret, in the back of his van. She then returns to the ballroom, dancing with Carl as the event continues. Simone continues seeing Tommy in secret, even though their dates take place in places far from her usual haunts. One day, Tommy gives her a simple sports watch as a gift, but Simone isn't impressed. Feeling hurt, Tommy leaves her in the middle of their date. Later, Amy, Simone's engaged daughter, informs Simone and Carl that she plans to cancel her wedding to her fiancé, Brad. She explains that Brad had a fling with another woman 2 years ago when they were on a break. Carl thinks she's overreacting, but Amy refuses to listen. Meanwhile, Tommy shows up at Simone's house with flowers. Amy sees him, and to cover up their affair, Simone quickly claims that Tommy heard about her conflict with Brad and wants to ask Amy out. To Simone's surprise, Tommy plays along and agrees to the date, intentionally trying to make Simone jealous. That evening, Amy can't find her car keys before heading out to meet Tommy. Assuming Simone hid them to sabotage the date and push her back toward Brad, Amy lashes out. She declares she doesn't want to marry Brad and end up miserable like Simone, who has already been through 3 failed marriages. Just then, Carl steps in, sharing his thoughts on love, that it isn't meant to be perfect. Simone has a realization about her true feelings for Tommy. She rushes to interrupt Amy and Tommy's date, not to stop them, but to reconcile Amy and Brad. She also makes amends with Tommy, showing her commitment by finally wearing the watch he gave her. Simone and Tommy get lost on their way to a motel in a rough neighborhood. When Simone asks for directions, a police officer mistakes her for a prostitute, forcing them to explain their affair and reconsider their meeting arrangements. The next day, Carl overhears Simone arguing with someone over the phone and begins to suspect she's having an affair, though she continues to deny it. Just then, Naomi arrives at their doorstep to discuss Tommy. She tells Simone that Tommy has been sneaking out at all hours, so she signed him up for a housekeeping job to water neighbors' plants and keep him occupied. Taking advantage of this, Simone and Tommy start meeting in the empty houses he maintains. However, one day, Joyce, Simone's neighbor, unexpectedly returns home early. Tommy rushes to intercept her, making up an excuse to keep her out of the bedroom. While Simone is forced to call Carl for help, Carl arrives, causing a distraction by crashing into Naomi's car, allowing Simone to escape unnoticed. However, Carl now discovers Simone has been having an affair with Tommy. Rather than reacting with jealousy, Carl remains indifferent. Simone feels humiliated, realizing that Carl never truly loved her as a husband. Simone reminds Carl about their divorce after Amy's wedding and informs him that she has already hired a lawyer. Later, Simone and Carl join Amy for dinner to meet Brad's family. They promise to buy Amy and Brad a big house. Simone's lawyer calls, and Amy accidentally discovers that her parents are getting divorced. Worried about Brad's conservative family, she begs them to keep it a secret. At the restaurant, Simone spots Hector, her favorite stylist, who mysteriously dropped her as a client. Meanwhile, Carl excuses himself from the table, seemingly avoiding Brad's family. Curious, Simone goes looking for him and catches Carl and Hector making out in the men's bathroom, revealing the real reason Hector stopped working with her. Before Simone can react, Amy rushes in and pleads with them to return to the table to avoid ruining her plan to impress her future in-laws. Simone agrees but remains cold toward Carl throughout dinner. Tensions escalate when Brad's mother subtly criticizes Simone, suggesting that as a divorcee, she should treat her third husband with more kindness. Furious, Simone blurts out that Carl is gay. In retaliation, Carl exposes Simone's affair with Tommy. Brad's family is shocked, and the situation worsens when Brad's sister confesses her romantic feelings for Amy. The dinner ends in chaos. Back at the mansion, Carl and Simone have a heated argument. Carl finally admits that he loved Hector but ended the relationship some time ago. Determined to understand the truth, Simone later visits Hector to confront him about his relationship with Carl. The next morning, Simone wakes Carl up to remind him that she still wants a divorce but hopes they can part on good terms. To support him, she invites Hector over and encourages Carl to go on a date with him, even helping him choose an outfit. Meanwhile, Tommy visits Simone and gifts her an expensive brooch. When Naomi notices a large withdrawal from his account, she suspects he might be buying drugs and confides in Simone. Curious, Simone looks up the brooch's price and, realizing its true value, tries to return it to Tommy at his track practice. However, someone sees her but doesn't recognize her, reporting the encounter to Naomi. This further fuels Naomi's suspicion that Tommy is involved in drug dealing. Determined to find out the truth, Naomi breaks into Tommy's room to read his journal. While doing so, she calls Simone, who rushes over to stop her. Thinking quickly, Simone diverts Naomi's attention by revealing that Carl is gay and manages to snatch the journal from her hands before she can see a portrait of Simone inside. Just then, Tommy arrives home and angrily confronts his mother for invading his privacy. Later, Tommy asks Simone to travel to Europe with him.
Though hesitant at first, she agrees to consider it.
Meanwhile, Carl learns he has AIDS but chooses not to tell Simone. Simone and Tommy discuss their upcoming trip to Europe, but when Tommy admits he can't afford the lavish experiences Simone envisions, she suggests he sell the brooch and find a more creative way to show his love for her. During a dinner party, a woman approaches Simone in the bathroom, introducing herself as Carl's doctor's wife and a nurse at his practice.
She reluctantly reveals that Carl has AIDS.
Stunned, Simone confronts Carl after the party, and he confirms his diagnosis. Realizing Carl needs her, Simone decides to cancel her trip with Tommy to take care of him. Heartbroken and angry, Tommy steals a bottle of wine from Simone's home and speeds off in his car, only to get into an accident. At the hospital, Naomi discovers that Tommy has gotten a tattoo of Simone on his leg, finally learning the truth about their affair. Naomi, furious, spreads a vicious rumor that Simone has been grooming Tommy for years and also exposes Carl's sexuality. The gossip spreads quickly, and at the country club, all eyes are on Simone and Carl.
In the middle of dinner, they are asked to leave.
Outraged, Simone throws her wine in the manager's face before storming out with Carl. Determined to do more damage, Naomi arrives at the mansion and threatens them, revealing that she knows Carl has AIDS.
She even tells Amy, who, influenced by Naomi's words, insists that Carl shouldn't attend her wedding. Naomi calls everyone in their social circle, turning them against the couple.
When Simone confronts Amy for abandoning Carl, she declares that if Carl isn't welcome, she won't attend the wedding either. One day, Simone and Carl wake up to find their mansion vandalized with hateful graffiti, while their neighbors gather to gawk.
When Carl suddenly becomes dizzy and nearly collapses, Simone begs for help, but their neighbors hesitate, fearing his illness.
Only their loyal gardener steps in to assist. At the hospital, Simone finds Naomi waiting and pleads with her to stop dragging Carl into their feud.
Naomi remains unmoved, vowing to continue her attacks.
However, Tommy overhears the conversation and, disgusted by his mother's cruelty, cuts ties with her. Blinded by rage, Naomi gets into her car and waits outside the hospital. The moment Simone steps out,
Naomi floors the gas pedal and drives straight into her. Tommy intervenes just in time, saving Simone as Naomi crashes into another car, injuring herself.
Word spreads about Naomi's reckless actions, and she is shunned by her high society friends. Tommy offers to cancel his trip to Europe to stay with Simone while she cares for Carl, but she insists he go, encouraging him to explore new relationships and opportunities. 6 months later, with Carl's condition worsening and their insurance revoked, Simone is forced to sell her art collection to cover his medical expenses. Meanwhile, Carl secretly begins hoarding sleeping pills, determined to end his suffering on his own terms. When Simone discovers them, she pleads with him to keep fighting. However, after witnessing another AIDS patient deteriorate in agony, she ultimately decides to help Carl pass peacefully. The two share a final dance before Simone administers a lethal dose of medication, granting Carl a painless death. Decades later, Taylor and Eli meet Simone when they move into the mansion. Now a dedicated philanthropist in AIDS research, Simone has devoted her life to honoring Carl's memory. Meanwhile, Tommy has become a renowned painter, fulfilling the potential Simone once saw in him. In 2019, Taylor Harding and Eli Cohen, a married couple in an open marriage, move into a new mansion. They meet with the construction worker who will be renovating their house. The worker attempts to mansplain and disrespect Taylor because of her gender, but Taylor is no one's fool and stands up for herself. Taylor is a successful lawyer, while Eli is a screenwriter with modest success. One evening, Taylor is forced to rescue her casual hookup, Jade, from her toxic ex-boyfriend, Duke. After Jade is threatened by Duke, Taylor brings her home to stay with her and Eli. Eli is initially reluctant to have Jade stay, even for just one night. However, the next day, Jade starts happily managing the household, cooking meals for them, which delights Taylor. Eli tells his friend about the situation, and the friend encourages him to explore a three-way relationship with Taylor and Jade. The following day, Eli talks to Jade by the pool while she's wearing a bikini. They discover they have much in common, and Jade even tells Eli that he's special, kissing him on the cheek. Eventually, Eli agrees to let Jade stay longer, as he finds himself becoming attracted to her. He confides in Taylor about his feelings, and she is happy with his decision, believing he has made the right choice. One night at dinner, Jade opens up about how jealous Duke is and then shares the story of how she and Taylor met. Taylor was shopping for a bra at Agent Provocateur and needed help from Jade, who used to work there. They ended up making out in the fitting room. This is when Eli learns that Taylor and Jade have been seeing each other for 6 months, breaking the established rules of their open marriage. He begins to suspect that the two are in love. Things get awkward, and Jade suggests they go to the hot tub. Eli offers to grab a pecan pie for dessert while the women get ready. In the hot tub, for the first time, Jade opens up to Taylor about her difficult childhood, how she had to move from one foster home to another, making her current living situation feel surreal. Just as they are about to kiss, Eli jumps into the pool naked. Taylor finds this inappropriate and decides they should go inside to talk. She immediately sees through Eli's plan. He wants to take advantage of her in Jade's intimate moment. However, Taylor tells him that it's not going to happen. Eli, on the other hand, believes that Jade is interested in sleeping with him too, and Taylor agrees to ask for Jade's consent. But before they can even discuss it, they find Jade already waiting for them at the door. However, the night doesn't unfold the way Eli expects. The two women finish quickly with him and continue with each other without him. Taylor, in particular, seems to be falling in love with Jade. When questioned by her husband about her relationship with Jade, Taylor reassures him that he is the one she loves, though she admits to having feelings for Jade as well. Eli has clearly lost his inspiration for writing and tries to regain it by buying things. Taylor wants to ask him about it but is afraid of coming across as nagging. Jade suggests that the three of them go dancing after dinner. Taylor has a lot of work to do but eventually agrees, swayed by Jade's sweet talk. At a nightclub, Taylor, Eli, and Jade run into Willow and Misha, Jade's former romantic partners. The couple, who are influencers, invite Jade to join them on a trip to Venice the next day. When they return home, Taylor becomes jealous and tries to stop Jade from leaving. Eli chases after her and pressures her to admit her true feelings for Jade. Taylor finally confesses that Jade helps her cope with the financial pressures of being the household's sole breadwinner, especially since Eli has not been contributing financially. She also reveals that Jade is such a generous and nurturing person that she makes Taylor feel truly loved. When Jade returns to the mansion to announce that she's leaving for Venice, Eli persuades her to stay and make the mansion her home. The three of them officially become a throuple. Duke suddenly shows up at the mansion, causing Jade to panic. Eli, as the man of the house, steps outside to confront him but is quickly threatened. However, Taylor intervenes, standing up to Duke and bruising Eli's ego in the process. Later, Duke calls Jade and threatens to harm their dog, Teacup, unless she meets him. Desperate to save the dog, they rush to Duke's place. When he doesn't answer the door and they struggle to get inside, Eli decides to take charge, smashing a window, grabbing the dog, and making a run for it, with Duke chasing after him in nothing but a towel. Back at the mansion, Duke storms in, attacking both Eli and Taylor before searching for Jade. But before he can reach her, Jade strikes him in the leg with a hammer and orders him to leave. Both Taylor and Eli are shocked by how ruthless Jade can be. Eli's agent comes to his house to check on his writing progress. Eli continues to stress over his work and confides in Jade that his agent needs to see the script by the next day. However, it is far from finished, and if he doesn't submit it, his agent will drop him. He has written 50 pages, but they are not good. Jade asks to see his script, and he reluctantly hands it over. Meanwhile, Taylor is out of town for a conference. She also visits her sisters and informs them about her living arrangements. They are shocked and question whether Jade and Eli might start developing feelings for each other. Jade gives Eli honest feedback on his script, specifically about the main protagonist. She suggests ways to make the story more engaging and proactive. Her feedback is valuable, sparking Eli's creativity. After he falls asleep at his desk, Jade gives him some pills to help keep him awake. Thanks to this, Eli manages to finish the script in the morning and delivers it to his agent. After dropping off the script in person, Eli returns home and thanks Jade. He realizes that the script is one of the best things he has ever written. Overwhelmed with gratitude, he hugs her, and one thing leads to another. They kiss and end up sleeping together. That night, Taylor calls to check on Eli and instantly notices that something is off between him and Jade, confirming her sister's concerns. Eli continues writing after taking more pills. However, he is stopped by Jade, who asks whether they should tell Taylor the truth about sleeping together. Eli hesitates but eventually agrees. When Taylor arrives home, she is angry and frustrated after a bad flight and exhausting travel. Seeing her mood, Eli decides to avoid the truth and says nothing. The next morning, Eli completes his script. As he shares the news with the girls, Taylor notices that he has grown closer to Jade than to her. She confronts him, suspecting that they slept together while she was away. Jade immediately admits it, making the situation awkward. However, they manage to talk it through. Later, they all go out to dinner with Eli's agent, who informs him that he has offers from producers in the six-figure range. Eli expresses his gratitude, emphasizing how much Jade saved him, especially by reading his script and providing feedback. Unfortunately, Taylor takes offense, as Eli never allowed her to read his early drafts. Feeling hurt, she tells Jade that their current living arrangement is no longer working for her. Meanwhile, Jade discovers Eli's addiction to pills. However, since he claims he needs them to write and Jade still needs a place to stay, Eli promises to take care of her if she gives him the pills. She reluctantly agrees. Eli buys cocaine from his former drug dealer, a stay-at-home mom, as the pills Jade provided are losing their effect. In an effort to strengthen their relationship, Taylor invites Eli and Jade to a weekend polyamory retreat. Eli appears restless, and Taylor starts to suspect that something is wrong. While at a gas station, Eli pretends to take a call and stays outside to do coke. However, he accidentally spills the powder all over the trunk when a truck suddenly honks at him. Upon arriving at the retreat, they discover that trunk inspections are being conducted. Panicked, Eli quickly turns the car around. His nose starts bleeding, prompting Taylor to check the trunk, where she finds the drugs. They return to the mansion, where Eli receives great news from his agent. His script has been sold for $1.2 million. They are overjoyed, but Taylor still insists that Eli go to rehab. However, Eli, feeling more confident than ever, refuses. Furious, Taylor walks out. She tells Jade to come with her, but Jade chooses to stay. The next day, Taylor meets with Jade to discuss the risk of Eli overdosing again. She asks Jade to find Eli's passwords so they can cut off his access to money, preventing him from buying more drugs. Taylor explains that Eli becomes extremely generous when he's on drugs. She considers calling Eli's father, whom he dislikes, to understand why he has started using again, but Jade shuts down the idea and agrees to handle it herself. However, when Jade gets home, she discovers that Eli has bought her an expensive car as a gift. Meanwhile, Taylor is notified that her credit card has been maxed out, prompting her to rush to the mansion. Suspicious of Jade, Taylor tells her to return the car. But Jade refuses, insisting that she deserves it for doing all the housework. Taylor accuses Jade of being the reason Eli is using drugs again, but Jade tells her to leave. She then works to turn Eli against Taylor by revealing Taylor's plan to call his father and cut him off financially. At the same time, she tries to get his password to access all his money. Desperate for answers, Taylor visits Duke in jail. In exchange for bailing him out, she asks for information about Jade. Duke warns her that Jade is not who she claims to be. That night, Taylor texts Eli to warn him, but Jade reads the message first and blocks Taylor's number from Eli's phone. Jade continues to ply Eli with food and drugs, planning to manipulate him into marrying her. Meanwhile, Eli's agent asks him to come in for a meeting with a potential director for his movie. However, the meeting is actually a setup. Taylor is there waiting for him. She reveals the truth about Jade. Her real name is Irene, and she has seduced and killed multiple people. She is also wanted by the Ohio police. Taylor urges Eli to leave Jade and go to rehab. Struggling to process everything, Eli insists he doesn't believe her but also admits that he needs her. He leaves but begins to grow suspicious of Jade. After Jade picks Eli up from the meeting, he subtly questions her about her true identity. Distracted, Jade loses control of the car and crashes, injuring Eli. As the police approach, she flees the scene. Desperate, she runs to Duke's place, where he admits he told Taylor everything. They argue violently, which escalates into a physical fight, and Jade ends up stabbing Duke to death. Meanwhile, Taylor visits Eli in the hospital. By the time they return home, Jade has already cleared out all her belongings. Realizing they need a fresh start, Eli and Taylor reconcile, deciding to sell the mansion, move to the countryside, and focus on each other. They also agree to end their open relationship. Meanwhile, Jade tries to sell Duke's grandfather's old watch to get money for her escape, only to discover that it's a fake and worthless. Furious, she smashes the glass display in the store and storms out. Desperate, she decides to return to the mansion. When Taylor and Eli arrive home, they are shocked to find Jade in the kitchen, cooking. They demand that she leave, but she attempts to manipulate and guilt-trip them again. When that fails, she demands money in exchange for leaving.
As Taylor goes to retrieve her wallet, they realize Jade has already fled, leaving a pan on the stove, which quickly catches fire. Soon after, the police arrive and inform them that Duke has been murdered. Taylor and Eli immediately suspect Jade and are advised by the police to stay somewhere safe until she is arrested. As they rush to pack their bags and head to a hotel, Jade suddenly emerges from her hiding place in the living room and stabs Eli. She then goes upstairs, intending to attack Taylor, but after a violent struggle, Taylor manages to kill her. Eli survives, and they sell the mansion to a couple named Abby and Andrew before moving back into their old condo, taking Jade's dog, Teacup, with them. However, after Eli and Taylor leave, Abby discovers that Andrew is cheating on her and shoots him.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe and like for more videos like this.